Thank you, everybody. I'm Alex Chisnall. I've been part of the Accelerate series from when we first started. And I think we're now probably up to about 8 or 9, aren't we? Something like that, which is amazing because it was meant to be once every quarter, I think, to start with. So, and just what we're going to do, just going to give you a little bit of my background and then just get everybody to really briefly introduce themselves to the group so everybody knows everybody on here. So myself, like I said, I was part of Accelerate series with BAB to start with. I was working with Virgin Startup at the time, Richard Branson's not-for-profit, helping entrepreneurs fund and mentor their businesses. And prior to that, Virgin Atlantic. I now have my own podcast agency called Purnell, which helps businesses on both sides of the Atlantic tell their stories through the power of podcasting. So let's go around, maybe pass over to Mark Rogers from Xplora. Mark, if you'd like to introduce yourself as well, and then go for it. There you go.
Absolutely. Thank you, Alex. So I'm Mark Rogers. I'm the VP Sales for Xplora. Xplora is a children's smartwatch manufacturer. We manufacture a product that is designed to encourage children of the ages between 4 and sort of 10 years old to get active. And then we partner with lots of agencies to sort of convert that activity into a point system that we call Xplora Coins. And then kids are rewarded by getting game time or being able to make purchases using their coins. It's been hugely popular, and back at the sort of last quarter of last year, we took the huge decision to enter into the American market, and that's pretty much what this conversation is about.
Yeah, we'll come back to Mark, who I'm going to be chatting to throughout this and answering any questions that you want to put to Mark as well. Pass over to Paul McIntosh from Bridgehead to introduce himself.
No way, that's a wry smile there, Alex. Afternoon, everyone. Yeah, it's great to be talking to you all. I think this is the 4th or 5th Accelerate event I've attended, so always been enjoyable. Afternoon, everyone. I'm CEO and founder of Bridgehead. We're an international go-to-market agency. We specialise in the transatlantic corridor, as Rita mentioned. We have offices here in Europe and in North America. And we specialise in helping scale up and start-up companies expand their businesses internationally. So over 10 years, we've helped over 65 companies achieve 100 million in revenue. And that's everything from creating a go-to-market strategy through to delivering that through.
Thanks, Paul. As Christina, as you were just talking, would you like to unmute yourself and introduce yourself as well?
Sure, thank you. I'm Christy Waskaboynik. I work for an accountancy firm called Dyke Exley. We are located in Cleveland, Ohio, and Shrewsbury, Shropshire. We do the US side of the UK-US business connection. We work not only with individuals who have to file a US tax filing from throughout the world, but most importantly, we work with businesses from the UK who are starting in the US, providing accountancy services and linking them to other industries that they need in order to successfully carry on business. We are members of the BAB chapter in Cleveland and in Birmingham. I have been invited to these events as I go back and forth to the UK quite often, but have never been in London when one of these events happens. So I'm very happy that they are now virtual and I can take part. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Chrissy. And Jorgen from Link Humans, would you like to unmute yourself and introduce yourself as well?
Thanks, Alex. So yeah, Jorgen, I'm founder and CEO of Link Humans, and we're an employer brand research company. So really helping big corporates understanding how they can be more attractive to both attract people, the right people to join them, and to keep the right talent. So this has been very interesting during the last couple of months. And we've been toying with the idea of having a bridgehead in the US for about 1.5 years now. But I think the current situation has probably set us back a little bit, like everyone else potentially. Really keen to hear what everyone else has to share about this. And also, Alex, I do run a podcast. I've been doing that for 5 years. So, and I can attest to the power of podcasting to build a business.
Awesome. Thank you, Jorgen. Very good, very interesting. Okay, Chris from CMB Automotive, and maybe it's good for everybody also just to briefly say what stage they're at with their business, i.e. Have they moved over to the US as well as being in the UK or vice versa? Chris.
Hi everyone, hope you can hear me okay. Well, as you know, I'm Chris from CMB Automotive. I'm the founder and director of the company. And we're basically a marketing and communications agency who specialize primarily in automotive and new mobility technology and sort of the surrounding sort of industries. Now, you know, our company's been going for maybe 15 years now, but we started looking at a US expansion plan a couple of years ago, and we've got to the point now where we're taking our first tentative steps into Detroit with a virtual presence. So it gives us some type of presence there. We worked with a number of US companies, and the way it works is that we work with like UK or European companies to take them into the US, and US companies to take them into Europe, and sometimes, you know, vice versa. So that's kind of where we are at this point in time.
Awesome, thanks. Alice, would you like to introduce yourself? I'm sure people probably recognise you, most people here.
Yes, I'm Director of Strategic Partnerships and Events at British American Business, so help oversee all of the programming that we offer to our members and growing companies like you all. Thanks.
Thanks. Emma, whilst you're there as well, would you like to introduce yourself? Those of you who might not have seen you during last year's programme.
Hi, I won't have been at last year's programme because I only joined BAB in March, but I am the Events and Marketing Manager for BAB and work closely with Alice on the events programming, and I'm currently busy running on the logistics behind Zoom, letting you all in and adding your companies. So enjoy the session.
Thanks. Nora from the US Tax and Financial Services Group, would you like to unmute yourself and give a brief introduction, please?
Hi, thanks, Alex. My name is Nora Rothrock from US Tax and Financial Services, and a little bit similar to Christina, we're based in London. I'm in Edinburgh, Scotland right now, but we're based in London, and we work closely with companies that are expanding to the US. We've been doing this for about 6 years. So we work with any kind of company, and we help them with their personal and corporate taxes. A little bit different. We don't do any other accounting services. We just specialize in tax. However, we are setting up a venture fund, a venture debt fund, where we're going to help it invest in companies or lend to companies that are expanding to the US. So we have a lot of experience looking at business models and everything around companies. We have a really strong connected network of people like all of you that we help companies get set up so that they're successful in the US.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Nora. Face of recognised from one of our previous webinars, Peter from Deloitte. Would you like to introduce yourself, Peter?
Hi, Alex. Hi, everyone. Thanks a lot for that. Yeah, I'm Peter Bodenheisen. I'm a tax partner with Deloitte, and I run our U.S. business tax practice based in London. And, you know, I'm regularly helping clients as they expand into the U.S. and vice versa oftentimes. I also sit on BAB's board and enjoy supporting the BAB Accelerate program.
Perfect, thank you. And then Susan, would you like to introduce yourself as well?
Hi, I'm Susan, founder and director of QDOS. We are a manufacturer of, designer and manufacturer of smartphone accessories. We've been trading across Europe and in other parts of the world for the past 12 years and have from time to time considered expanding distribution across into the States and potentially having a presence there. We have had one or two success stories. I know Mark Rogers very well. Hi, Mark, which is how I came across this event in my LinkedIn feed. So I'm intrigued to meet you all and learn a bit about expanding into the US.
Perfect. Thank you, Susan. Tony from Buttonfix, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hello. Yes, I'm a director of Buttonfix Limited. In my heart, I'm a product designer, and we designed a range of panel fixings 8 years ago, and we've launched them, and we've gone global with it. We've just won a Queen's Award for innovation with them. And we do sell in the States through distributors. That seems to be going pretty well, and at some point in the future, we will manufacture the product out there and maybe have a US presence.
Thanks, Tony. Appreciate it. Sharon from the State of Illinois European Office. Would you like to unmute yourself, Sharon, and just introduce yourself?
Yes, good morning and good afternoon, everyone. From sunny Brussels, it's 27 degrees today, and it's actually a day's vacation. It's Pentecost. So I've given up an hour of my time to join you, which I'm really excited about. So thank you, BAB, for the invitation. So my name's Sharon Stead. I head up the State of Illinois European Office. That's been in Brussels since 1968, offering trade services to Illinois companies that want to expand or increase their exports to Europe. But my main focus is working with European companies and more so British companies that want to expand their business into the United States. And my job is to entice them into the great state of Illinois. And we've worked with hundreds of British companies. We have over 300 British companies in the state of Illinois, but most of them are in and around the greater Chicago area. And we've attracted a lot of technology companies, small startups over the last 5 years. So very happy to be here. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Sharon. Chris from Loxos Consulting. Would you like to unmute yourself, Chris?
Hi, Chris Tholstrup, from London originally, but now in the Bay Area. So I'm having breakfast rather than afternoon tea. Loxos Consulting, also working for a group called QDOS Consulting, working with early stage, so startup and scale up companies, helping them build out business plans and marketing plans, but also hands-on business development, mostly focused in the US, but also have worked with some early stage UK companies on looking at their US expansion plans, a lot of which have been put on hold in the last 6 to 9 months for obvious reasons. I've been involved with the BABC out here for a long time, and particularly interested to engage more with BAB, which has more of a presence on the UK side. So glad to be here.
Thanks, Chris. And Julie from XE, would you like to unmute yourself?
Hi everyone, I'm Angeli from XE. So we're better known for our app and website for referencing foreign exchange rates. What we also do is work very closely with SMEs and larger businesses who have an exposure to the currency markets. And we work alongside those businesses to help them minimize the costs and protect their bottom line when dealing with foreign exchange. So this is my first Accelerator event, and we are new members of BAB, so I'm very excited to be part of this. Thank you very much.
Thanks, and welcome to your first Accelerate series. Adam from the state of Tennessee, where in the world are you today, sir?
Hi, Alex. I'm in sunny Manchester, England. Where it's blistering hot. So yeah, I'm the relatively recently appointed UK representative for Tennessee. So similar to Sharon, I'm helping to advise companies from the UK. I'm had about 25 years experience on international expansion, both for myself. I've run 2 different startups and also worked with alongside a lot of government programs in US, Canada and the UK. So done quite a lot with Department for International Trade and the various city and region teams across the UK. So very familiar with the patch and with the process. But yeah, lovely to meet you all, and hopefully we'll have a good chat.
Thanks, Adam, and welcome along as well. Last 3, and then we're going to get started, folks. So hang on to your hats. Kevin from CliftonLarson Allen Global. Kevin, if you don't mind unmuting yourself and just introducing.
Sure. Nice to see you again, Alex. My name's Kevin Brown from CLA. I'm based and lead our New York office. We're a US nationwide national accounting and tax firm. And I have been working with BAB for many years now, both in London and New York as members. And we help SMEs and privately owned businesses from the UK expand and kind of help them with their soft landing here in the US. I've been doing that for 15-20 years now. So
perfect. Good to see you again, Kevin. Thanks. Oliver, good to see you again as well. if you'd like to unmute, introduce yourself as well, sir.
Hello. So you're talking about me, also another Ollie?
Yes. Yeah, you
hello.
indeed.
Excellent. My name's Ollie Purnell. I'm the managing partner of Q5. We've had an operation in New York now for about 7 years. We're an organisational change firm, and business has gone great over the last 11 years. It's a bit of a soft market at the moment. I think particularly so in the US. I think the UK is showing a bit more resilience at the moment, but I'm delighted to be with you today.
Perfect. Thank you. And David Carter, Deep Planet. Introduce yourself, sir.
Hey guys, my name is Dave Carter from Deep Planet. We're an agri-tech startup that will help growers increase their yields and optimize variability, reduce irrigation costs, and on one side, and then the other side we help the food processors and those in the agricultural supply chain monitor up to 80 different types of crops, predict their yield, and get an understanding what's happening in their supply chain. We started about 2.5 years ago. We're a startup. We came out of three founders, myself and 2 others out of Oxford. Had 2.5 years worth of R&D, had some grants from the European Space Agency, and now we're commercializing the business. All our customers are international. We have very few UK. And myself, I'm based out of in the San Francisco Bay Area, so I'm having breakfast here as well. So cheers.
Nice. Nearly dinner time for us, I think. Rita, I can't remember. I'm sure you introduced yourself when you started, didn't you?
I might have got carried away and not, but let me introduce myself now. So I'm Rita. I do corporate engagement with all our members. We have around 250 plus members on the London side, and we're an umbrella organisation at BAB. So we have a New York office and a London office. So I help make sure that all our members are plugged into any relevant activities. And I also help with the trade promotion portfolio at BAB. Which consists of helping with our publications, one of which is our trade and investment guides that we're very famous for. These Accelerate events making sure that everyone is plugged in, and making sure that I make any relevant introductions and plug people into who they need to be to help on their transatlantic journey, whether that be to the US or into the UK.
Brilliant. Thank you, Rita. And yeah, welcome everybody from far and wide on both sides of the Atlantic today. I think it's important, given that when we normally do these events, we've got wine, beer, nibbles, and we get the chance to actually see other humans and engage with them and shake hands, which we're not doing today. So I think it is important for everyone to introduce themselves and do connect on LinkedIn, being the obvious one, afterwards, and make those connections that we wouldn't normally get in this situation. So maybe it makes sense, Mark, if you unmute yourself again and just to refresh everybody, just tell us a little bit about Xplora, what type of business you are, and what markets you service at the moment.
Thanks, Alex. So yeah, so Xplora is a leading watch manufacturer based in Oslo in Norway. We manufacture a children's wearable product that also is a mobile device. This allows parents to track their child's position using GPS. It also allows them to communicate with the child whilst they're out and about. And they can do certain things like set geo-fencing on the device as well. So, you know, if a child leaves a certain location, they get a notification of it. There's many devices like that in the marketplace already. Unfortunately, we have a lot of very cheap products in that space as well. So in order to differentiate ourselves from the competition and to create something significantly different, we've also introduced a platform that we call GoPlay. GoPlay is basically encourages children to get more active. Studies have shown that children as young as 5-6 years old are spending 6 to 7 hours a day sat in front of a TV screen or a mobile device or some other type of screen and not getting active. So by monitoring the child's activity, combining that with the child's location, which are the two things that we can monitor, we can award points to that child based on certain behaviours or based on certain activity. And that activity is converted into what we call Xplora coins. So 1,000 steps that a child takes can convert to 1 Xplora coin. A child can bank their Xplora coins, and then they can use them on the GoPlay platform to make purchases, to play mini games, or to put in bids for prizes. We collaborate with lots of leading brands such as Sony PlayStation, Warner Brothers, Fox Disney, etc., typically around movie themes, where the games are themed around the movie game, or indeed the prizes that the child can bid on are also themed around those games as well. It's attracted a lot of attention globally, and we're now in the US working with partners such as UNICEF, where actually we've taken the Xplora coins and converted that to charitable donations, working with companies like UNICEF and potentially other retail partners as well. We have offices, as I say, in Norway. We have another office in Germany, which is probably our biggest market at the moment in Europe. We have an office in Madrid in Spain, 2 offices in London, and with Bridgehead, we're operating in North America out of Toronto. We took the decision to enter the US market in the final quarter of last year, and actually launched ourselves, if you like, at the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas back in January of this year, which seems like a long time ago, given the lockdown and everything that we've been through since that time.
I bet. Yeah, actually, for the first time, used any technology like this, in that my youngest daughter went for the first time to meet a boy on her own, and my wife tried to track her through her mobile phone, and it failed. Couldn't find her, and then my wife was like, really anxious throughout the day, and just kept phoning her on the phone there. But it kind of defeated the whole purpose of having that technology on the phone in the first place.
That's how he was founded, actually, by Sten Kirkback. A similar story where he lost his child in a shopping centre, and that's what inspired him to go out and find a device that would enable him to track his child.
No, I didn't tee that up, everyone. I have to say, I did not tee up that conversation. That is a general thing. That happened on Saturday. So, Mark, tell us, what was why 2019, like Q4, why was that deemed the optimum time to launch, to expand into the US from a obviously very strong position in Europe?
Well, I think the catalyst for us making that decision was securing some major telco business in the UK, in Europe, and particularly in Germany. What we quickly realised is that this market was rapidly changing, and that we needed to get a foothold in other marketplaces. So we'd had a little bit of a dabble into the Middle East region, sort of Asia Pac region as well, and we kind of identified the US through some legacy relationships that we'd had many years ago, that this was definitely, particularly the telecommunications retail part of the business was the area that we really wanted to focus on. We use the term batteries included a lot with our products, because the consumer's best experience when they're using our device is to purchase it with a SIM card already, and therefore it's like it kind of makes sense for a consumer to purchase it as a bundle package that often they would get from a telecoms operator. So, we'd already had a legacy relationship with AT&T in the States some years ago, where we trialed a product under a different brand name but by the same founder. So we kind of knew that market. And also with Bridgehead, we understood that those guys had got a good go-to-market sort of plan to enable us to do that and execute on that.
I was going to say, so before you went, from a advice point of view, who did you speak to initially? Was it Bridgehead, or did you gain a variety of different opinions before deciding what your strategy was going to be?
Well, it was probably our previous CEO who engaged with Bridgehead directly, and after a few discussions with Paul and the team there, kind of established what we wanted to get out of the US, and I'm sure Paul will tell you about his process. But what was very attractive to us was spending the necessary time to understand the scope of the market opportunity, refine our proposition to meet those expectations in country, understand the lay of the land, if you like, as far as competitors, etc., were concerned, and really go to market in a very targeted way, and then use an event like CES to accelerate and amplify our message to retail partners in the sort of North America region.
And can you give us kind of an insight as to how the launch went, and then how the kind of obvious question, how COVID-19, the pandemic, impacted those plans and that launch strategy?
Yeah, it's a good question. So we didn't envisage sort of launching into the US using our existing product ranges and basically running them in parallel with what we were doing in Europe. But the COVID-19 pandemic, in a way, it's created a window for us to reset that thought process, continue with the launch of the range that was already established in Europe, and then refocus on a new range of products, which something we understood we would need to do would regionalize our products to the North America market. It's a mobile phone fundamentally, so we have to have different certification in place, and some regionalization with language, and in order to achieve that, actually what we did is we took our product that we were going to launch earlier into Europe and delay that and just customize it for the US market. So it's actually worked quite well for us. We are expecting stock to arrive, the first batch of stock to arrive into our North America office in Toronto around about August time. And this COVID-19 pandemic situation has given us the window to pre-sell that stock, if you like, to engage with retailers who have genuinely, we kind of found, at least in our part of the market, to be more easily accessible during this situation, and to sort of tie in the details with them to enable us to launch as we planned. So it's worked out well for us, not by planning, I think. Nobody ever foresaw this situation, but we've tried to make the most out of it.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. And originally, North America base is in Toronto, is it? Because that's what was going to be my question. And it's always a popular question here. People are always interested to know, why did you pick that location? What kind of factors went into that location?
I think geographically it's quite easy for us to get in and out of. I'm based in London, so actually it's quite an easy place to get in and out of. We got or Bridgehead rather, had already got an experienced team in place there. It worked well for us. In terms of physical location, that's where the sales operation is, but in terms of warehousing, etc., we're working both with direct sales, but also through distributors as well. Our footprint will be across America in terms of stock offering, and when we're working through distributor, we'll be using their infrastructure, sales infrastructure, to get us into the right customers, regardless of where they're located.
Great. I've got a question that's come in, which I'll answer now. But I just wanted to bring Paul in at this point. I don't know if you're unmuted, Paul. And just to ask you, have you got anything to add with regards to location-wise there in Toronto? Because I know you've been there a fair bit yourself.
So yeah, we work from our side, both Canadian and American side of things. So the team based Toronto are flitting down south more than they stay in their home markets. And reconfirming Mark's point, as part of the methodology for the go-to-market strategy, you understand the pros and cons for each of the three regions, because we're doing a North American approach with Canada, US and Mexico. So all three regions form part of the go-to-market strategy in MIP. So again, for us, it's making sure we put the horse in front of the cart with our go-to-market methodology, which is ensuring Mark and the exec team at Xplora are focusing on the sales and business development angle. And I'm sure, both Chris's at CMB and Loxos have their own sort of methodology in the way they work things through with the client. The key thing here is to make sure, Mark alluded to earlier that there are competitors in the space. How does Xplora differentiate? And essentially the platform that Xplora sits on, the SaaS platform, is a massive differentiator for retailers and, brick and mortar for our US, North American colleagues, and onliners. It's a real big differentiator that shows that somebody's coming into the market to change it significantly. That allows you to differentiate and target the right partners. So all of that work was completed between September and December in order to deliver the final execution to go live at CES in January. So it's a nice line in the sand. You can't move something like the Consumer Electronics Show. For those that have been to it, it's huge. It's fairly impressive. And I think the aspect before that, Alex, is part of the process during September, October, November, is actually engaging with these customers during that period of time to give Mark and the team the feedback they need regarding pricing, value proposition, and local, and making sure the product's localized. So all of that work is done in that compressed period of time.
Okay, perfect.
To be clear, there's distribution both in Canada and USA.
Yeah. And back to Mark, maybe, before I answer this question, how anything disrupted? Because I've spoken to a number of people now. I've done over, saying this last week to Alice and Rita and Emma, I've done over 100 webinars during the pandemic, and a common one is, have supply distribution lines being disrupted, and in your own situation, has that happened at all?
I think it's another great question. I think that there's two answers for that. On the China side, our products are manufactured in China. In the obviously in the early days of the pandemic, then it was China that was most severely affected with their own lockdown, and naturally we experienced some delays in manufacturing and product launch right at the beginning, which the knock-on effect was sort of 12 weeks later when we experienced that delay in our process. So that's one side where we experienced delays. The other side was probably in the appointment of distribution partners, just because a lot of firms sort of laid staff off or were repurposing people to other parts of the business, which meant that some elements of what we wanted to get in place was delayed by that. But as I say, for us, we knew that because of the processes we needed to go through in terms of getting our products certified, ready for sale in the US and regionalized, etc., it's kind of worked for us a little bit, and we found that that's played out to our advantage a little bit now.
Thanks, Chris. Did you want to unmute yourself and ask the first question that you got, Chris Tholstrup?
Yeah, I was on a call with London and Partners and others a couple of weeks ago, talking about the Future Fund and some of the other efforts made by the government to support UK businesses. I'm wondering if anybody has any perspectives on that, but also how general investor sentiment is in the UK towards startups and scale-ups, given our current situation.
Yeah, maybe Paul, you might have a good perspective on that, actually, mightn't you?
Yeah, so with this particular project, that wasn't a requirement, Chris. So Xplora had significant investment from other well-versed investors that support the international growth. On another side of things, are we seeing a propensity for people to leverage those government tools? Not a great deal, in fairness. A lot of the feedback we're getting, Chris, and I don't know if you're in the same or anybody else on the call, is the time frame to get this delivered and through is quite problematic. And I think what we've seen in the last, or actually all through the course of this year, with something like COVID impacting everybody, what people are seeing is a great opportunity to plan and prepare for when things, in inverted commas, get back to normal, if that's ever going to happen over the next year or two. However, I think from a government standpoint, those aspects of the future fund has not, as far as I'm aware, been a real enticer for people.
Thanks. Tony, would you like to unmute yourself and ask your question there, please, sir?
Thank you. Yeah, I was just wondering if there was any negative feedback from people who wanted to buy America. I mean, I guess the answer is that if you're not going to buy it, you don't need to give the reason why. But I got the sense that for some people, when we say made in Britain, that's a positive, and for some people that is not a positive. So how's it been for you?
Yeah, maybe.
Sorry, I'll jump in, then Mark can follow. So, good to speak to you again, Tony. So during the go-to-market strategy and planning work for the UK, being a Scandinavian, Nordic-based business is a very pro-sell within the UK. Within North America, actually, the European stance is quite a strong stance. What that brings over, and that comes back to confirm the point mentioned by Mark earlier, there's lots of inexpensive, cheap, well, I call them cheap, opposed to inexpensive, copycats that try and come into market but don't have the robust security that's required when a parent's looking for a product for their child. So how do you manage data? What's the trust in and behind that? And there's been lots of Far Eastern companies that have been compromised with their data and data management. So I think, Tony, on that side of things, it was definitely seen as a plus point for those buyers we were dealing with at brick and mortar, online, and in the telco world. It's a European-based business with those levels of certification to jump through hoops.
Can I jump in for 1 second?
I was just going to ask you, Chrissy, actually. I was just pressing the more button. Yeah.
So we work with a wide range of clients, manufacturing, those who are selling. We're working with a wonderful brother and sister team in London who are selling upcycled skincare products from coffee grounds, from London coffee shops. They are finding that by setting up a US website and a US entity, it's helping them to sell into the big beauty product stores and department stores, but their online presence to individuals does not matter. Another family-owned jewelry store or jewelry designers selling from their UK website into the US without any issues. Talked with a gentleman recently who does sales consultancy, and he's going to be working with big tech companies, and their RFQs may not be answered or given to a UK-based company. They want to see a US entity, but they don't look to see how it's owned. So that's why my answer is a little bit all over. I'll tell you, the US sentiment right now is not to buy from China, and that we feel very, very good about the EU and the UK, and that relationship is being promoted. But that's just, it's not quite a black and white answer, but it's a little bit of both. And I think the bigger the company, or if you're dealing, I see a comment here about dealing with governmental agencies, having a US entity, and our couple of clients that are in manufacturing, being able to say that their product is somehow worked on or manufactured in the US, even if it's just the finishing piece, has been a positive for them.
Yeah, thank you, Jorgen, for your comment as well. Anybody else has any comments throughout the rest of this? Just pop them into the chat.
Alex, could I just add a comment?
Yes, please do.
Okay, so it's just, Americans don't have in my experience, with working with American companies for over 30 years, they don't have a problem with purchasing, whether it's European products, British products. In fact, they quite like to buy those products, so they seem more luxurious. What they do have a problem with is if that product needs to be serviced, that's what they want to know, is how's it going to be serviced. So if a company can give that great USA address and show their customers, yes, that they have an American address, and yes, they can address the issues of if a product breaks, it can be serviced within 24 hours. That's what they need to know. So it's I don't know how you're selling, Mark, in terms of through your distributors, if your distributors have the role of being your service technicians. But what's important for products that, if they need to be repaired, they can be repaired within 24 hours. That's the most important aspect.
Yeah, it's a great point, Sharon. I think, and to that end, distribution partners that we're working with, in particular in relation to a couple of the larger telco retailers that we're in the process of going through an RFP process with at the moment. You know, on the points about US registration, setting up a company in the US, we were required to do that as part of that RFP process, but also very much to your point about providing service in country, then we've kind of looked at that not only from a repair point of view, but also customer support. So if it's a support help desk line in that time zone with regional people and a regional repair service, they're all functions that we've had to think about in our setup and support for some of these large RFPs. I think that's absolutely critical.
And Mark, when you setting up initially in Toronto, was it a local team or UK team that you started out there? How has that worked? And culture-wise, how's that changed things for you as a business?
It's a team actually made up of one guy, Canadian guy, and a Brit who's transferred to Toronto. One's very focused on the telecoms retail industry, and the other's very focused on the consumer electronics retail industry. They make a great pair. They've got great regional experience and a lot of, in the case of the guy that's looking after the retail business, he's had a long history of dealing with retailers and has a very good and current contact book, which is also important for us to speak to the right people. And you know, they're Bridgehead people, but they're fully incorporated into Xplora. It's an absolute, you know, in regards to other employees within the network of Xplora employees across Europe, they regard our North America team as part of the Xplora family. So they have Xplora email addresses, and they sit on different CRM systems and internal communication channels such as Slack, etc. So they're very much part of our team. Yeah, it's you know, we're fortunate to have a good couple of lads out there working for us at the moment.
Great, and interested to know again what's been and difficult to take the pandemic out of the equation, but the biggest frustration that you've had with regards to expanding into a completely different market?
Yeah, I think it's discovering, you know, we're dealing with telcos who, part of their homogenization process of bringing a handset on board requires a lot of testing and relevant certification and you know, Paul alluded earlier to sort of issues around security and data. It's not a frustration, but it's going through that journey and process, you know. So getting the balance right between the long lead time retailers and the retailers that can activate more quickly is a little bit you know, challenging. But we kind of worked through that. Yeah, I think that's the main one. I think the other thing that Paul mentioned earlier was about data. I mean, we're fully GDPR compliant. We have policy statements regarding that in Europe, and that often exceeds the requirements in the US. I think David on here earlier asked a question about that too, about resistance, and we find that actually that helps us as well, particularly when we're talking about ourselves in relation to potentially a competitive brand out of China or something.
And with regards, I've heard a podcasts that I've listened to, and people have been chatting about where their products are getting made in China and then looking to change that situation on a number of different levels. Any thoughts on that at all? And maybe Paul can chime in on that as well.
Yeah, I mean, our products are manufactured in China, but you know, we have recently pulled out the software development side, so both our IoT platform and our Go Play platform, which is online. We've pulled them out of China, and we co-developed them both in Oslo in Norway, but we also have a team of developers based in South Korea as well. So it sounds like an odd setup, but it actually works really well for us. That element we have removed from China. There's no plans to move the product side out of there yet. I think it's fair to say they do a pretty good job for us.
Okay. Yeah, and I think as we've said, the IoT/SaaS platform, the data hosting being done locally is kind of the key aspect. So should be less of a concern about the hardware, more about data staying within region, within country. And so that tells itself out the go-to-market strategy. Just one thing I wanted to say further to Chris and Sharon's comments earlier, Christina and Sharon's comments, was about the incorporation side. So as part of the strategy and the analysis, what we wanted to make sure for Xplora is that their brand, product, value proposition and solution fitted the North American market before they over-invested unnecessarily in incorporating something far too early. So Mark's already confirmed the incorporation took place. That took place in Q1, but that was after the market was proven in Q4. So for us, it was a case of doing things in that order to substantiate that investment for Mark and the executive and leadership team to invest in North America even more aggressively than they've been doing already. So there was that methodology and that process that made sense that they invested at the right time in the right activity.
Thank you. Can't believe how quickly this has gone already, everybody. Just mindful of the time. We have had a couple of questions. So for those of you who do have to drop off in the next couple of minutes, then appreciate your time in joining us today. Obviously, everybody introducing each other normally in a networking situation is going to take a shorter amount of time, with the aid of alcohol as well, as we have had in the past. But a really good question from David Carter from Deep Planet. How accurate were you in planning sales and marketing into North America, and how did you adjust to the changes? Like that question. Thank you.
Is that for me, Alex?
Yeah. Come on.
Yeah, David, I think it has been a challenge. I think we were, as I say, we were juggling a few different variables. We were juggling delayed manufacturing from our China factory. We were juggling with the testing protocols and the timelines around them as well. In fact, it's worked out okay for us in terms of when the product will be in country and available for sales. But had we planned it that way? Probably not. I think I would have preferred sales to have been happening sooner. But the coronavirus has delayed that. But I think what it has enabled us to do is to be more assured that when we're ready to go, and there's still a lot of uncertainty out there, of course, but I think we're more comfortable that we'll activate in Q4 and then carry some momentum through into H1 2021, which is when we see the market starting to pick up and some sense of normality starting to come back to our particular sector.
Great, thanks.
Alex, very quickly.
Sure.
So David, just on the sales side of things, so as part of the planning work, we do a top-down number, which gives an idea of the sizing, and we do that quite granularly. And then between Mark, myself, and the team out there, we build bottoms up based on channels, and we're within 10% of both those numbers. So from a sales granular perspective, certainly around the accuracy of the numbers, I think they're pretty spot on. The team will deliver those numbers this year. And Mark's looking at some incredible growth into 2021 based on the two routes and channels to market. So I think it's safe to say that North America will be Xplora's biggest region as we finish 2021.
Thanks. Just wrapping up, a question from Jorgen, which I think is a nice one actually, and I think we've only got one person who can possibly answer this, but I'd like to hear elevator pitches for Tennessee and Illinois, please. So let's maybe go to Sharon. Why should people come to Illinois just to expand their business?
Well, thank you, Jorgen. That's great, because I didn't think I was going to be given the opportunity to be able to promote the great state of Illinois and most of the Chicagoland areas. So elevator pitch, access to markets, access to customers through O'Hare Airport. You've got the international connection, you have the domestic connection with the second airport that's in Chicago, access to the skill sets that you need, particularly on the technology side, and our wonderful universities. You've got an immediate population of close to 9 million consumers. The Illinois state is actually close to 13 million, and downtown Chicago is close to 3 million people. So there's a heart in the city, it's very dynamic. And if it's on the list of world economies, we're about number 21, just the Chicagoland area itself. And the state is about number 19. So thank you.
That was an elevator. That was great. Yeah, got that down to a T. I think we don't have a Tennessee comeback though. Doesn't look like, does it, Rita? No. Okay. So mindful that people do have to go as we're coming up to 5 o'clock here. Closing remarks. No last questions have come in. So yeah, closing remarks. Peter from Deloitte says, thank you all, especially the speaker.
Is Alex gone, is he?
That was quite dramatic. the meter ran out, really.
Can I just say something very quick to Rita and Alice and the team at BAB? Having done this 2 or 3 times in person before, I think when we get back to an aspect of normal and doing it in a room, it would still be wonderful to have people from North America attending on VC. I think it really adds some great weight to an interest, actually, and a dual highway of discussion for both sides of the Atlantic. So well done, everyone, for getting it organised. Thank you.
Definitely. No, we'll definitely look into that. And also it really helps when people aren't even present in London, because we find that lots of businesses can't make, the usual 4 to 7 slot and be there on time. So no, definitely. But thanks for the feedback.
Good stuff. So I guess Alice, Rita, down to us guys to wrap it up, right?
Oh, Alex, you're back.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought the meeting might have timed out then, and we all got nuked, but clearly not. So maybe it was an internet.
You're being dramatic.
We missed you.
Mic drop. No, I just missed that last bit, but I was just going to say closing remarks. If Mark and Paul wanted to add any closing remarks, but maybe you've just done that. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think I just put up on the thread here. Any more questions from anybody specifically, then please feel free to email me. I think we're quite an optimistic company anyway. So the coronavirus has been a difficult situation for many companies. We've seen it as a bit of an opportunity. It's given us a bit more time to spend more time planning and engage, and look, there's lots of value in planning and preparation, and I'm hoping and I'm confident that that's going to hold us in good stead for the future.
Thank you very much. Paul?
Yeah, agreed. Plan, prepare. I think now's a great time to do so. It's certainly that window. It's giving everyone some breathing space. Engage with customers. They are engaging. They are giving good feedback. But from my side, in order for everyone to get rapid results, just do it. Be nimble, work quickly, get on, learn, develop, do it again. So great to talk to everyone. Thanks, Alex.
Thanks. Yeah, and again, just encourage people. Just pass over to Alice or Rita maybe to wrap up. But thank you all for coming. From my point of view, I'd love to connect with everybody on LinkedIn. Thank you all for your questions. And maybe let us know when the next event is going to be, Emma, Rita, or Alice. I'll let one of you guys wrap up.
Thanks, Alex, so much. And thanks, everyone, for joining. We'll be sending up follow-up notes. We're sharing everyone's contact details so everyone can connect with each other. And we'll definitely keep you posted on the next one, TBC, but we'll keep you posted. And thanks again for everyone. It's been a really interesting session.
Really enjoyed it. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you all.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye now. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Paul.
Bye.
Thank you, Alex. Bye.